adding, compounded by President Obama's decision to cut defense spending to the lowest percentage of GDP in many years. Iran may send warships through the Suez Canal tonight. So will our budget be strong enough to handle future conflicts? Joining us now, political consultant George Birnbaum of GEB International, Lee Hawkins of the Wall Street Journal, and Fox News contributor Andrea Tantaros. Andrea, first to you. One of the flim-flams, we were talking about flim-flam with Rick Santorum, is the administration claims that we're going to save over $1 trillion over a 10-year period in defense by doing something that's already been planned, drawing down the troops from Iraq and Afghanistan. That was already figured into everybody's calculations, but they claim it's a savings. If we do pull down the military to the extent that they want, it'll only be 2.7% of our GDP. It hasn't been that low since the 1950s. Is that risking our own security? It
is. And remember when Hillary Clinton, I don't quote her often, but she came out and said our debt is going to be a threat to our national security. Look, I think there's waste at the Department of Defense. I think a lot of people have war fatigue. They want to see costs come down. They don't want to be spending any money on war. But David, this is not the area to cut. Today, we look at Egypt, there's instability. We look at Iran flexing their muscles. We cannot downsize our presence in the Middle East, and we cannot downsize on defense spending now. I mean, when they talk about...
Look, there are some programs. There are some various defense programs that are questionable, that are pork-related, et cetera. They can be cut out reasonably. Right. But to cut our whole defense level, we should mention, by the way, you're an expert in what happens in the Middle East because you used to work with Netanyahu. As a result of that, are you concerned by what's happening now with these Iranian warships possibly moving into the Mediterranean?
Well, the concern is America's ability to project strength in the world. It's an equalizer in terms of stability. And if America can't do that, if America can't park aircraft carriers in the Persian Gulf or in the Mediterranean, we're going to be in a real difficult situation. Israel is probably become more isolated than it's ever been in recent history. Egypt is going to go, possibly Jordan, Bahrain, Yemen. This is becoming 1948 all over again for Israel, except they have America behind them to help project strength and stability.
By the way, what's the latest? Have you heard about these Iranian warships? Are they going through the canal into the Mediterranean?
Still unknown. Probably, but not sure.
All right. Are we at risk? So, you know, the irony of President Obama's way he spins all this is he's saying Republicans are threatening U.S. security by possibly cutting back on some. So he's throwing it back to Republicans in their face, saying they're the ones doing the cutting on the defense.
And there's this seesaw effect because politicians are trying to gauge where the public is. And the public is saying that they have, as Andrea said, military fatigue. And so that's going to dictate everything going forward because we're headed into this presidential election. And unfortunately, that's going to be the issue. And the F-35 fighter plane engine is one of those extravagant expenses that you talked about. And that was something that the Republicans were really split on. And so there are a lot of aspects of military spending that are going to be looked at, but it's definitely going to be a hot issue going forward.
If there's any positive here, it may be possible for us to get rid of some of the pork spending in the defense bill, right?
Yes, absolutely. There's waste, fraud, and abuse, plenty of it at these government agencies. Department of Defense is no different. However, as George pointed out, to present to the world a message that we are so financially insecure that we have to start cutting down on defense is not the best posture for the United States.
By the way, do you think Republicans are smart enough, clever enough politically to turn the idea of a government shutdown around on President Obama, say, look, we're going to present a budget. It's a lot more stern than your budget is. We think the American people are ready for that. Look at the success of Chris Christie in New Jersey. Yeah. You know how popular those views are now. So we're going to present it to you. If you veto it, then you're the one who's shutting down the government.
No, I absolutely think they are. A lot of them were there in '95. They saw what kind of PR debacle it was. And I hope that's the message they put forth. And you know what, David, at the end of the day, though, even if Republicans get blamed for it, Obama still owns the deficit. It's still his deficit, just like Obamacare. It's all going to fall on him at the very end of this battle.
All right.